the prospects of success of the project should be considered in nuclear export decision. In other words, countries who are now trying to sell, I mean, Russia already committed, and I think they have overcommitted 10 projects. At the same time, it actually is not possible. You cannot manage to have, it's a huge engineering project. But then, if any of those projects fails, it's a huge financial liability. So I think exporters has to really exercise restraint, and then make sure that the project has a good success probability. Nuclear suppliers and customers must participate in all regimes, especially, I know this sounds benign or naive, but AP, UN Security 5040, I think these are important part of non-proliferation commitment. I think it has to be a strong push toward that. Responsibility of exporters. Maybe we need to formalize them in terms of non-proliferation security and safety. There is no current economy around this issue. Some of my previous work has sort of argued that we have to build economy around non-proliferation and proliferation resistance. People say, who cares? Well, it's all economic, financial gain. But I think we need to be serious about this, and maybe export control regime need to think about these issues. Efforts for multilateral approaches of spent management must be strengthened to address the needs of these newcomer countries or existing users, because we cannot expect all these newcomer countries to come up with a successful strategy for the management of spent fuel. Then better drive them to do something else. So I think we globally have to work together to address this global challenge. We have to consider an incentive-disincentive system around the non-proliferation security in nuclear export. The contribution scheme has to change in terms of IAEA budget. The current policy has to be changed. And then I think the point that Professor Hastings made, passive knowledge transfer, and then also research-directed export has to be something on the radar screen. Thank you.
Okay. Question and comment from floor, please.
Thanks. That was a really great talk, and the data is fantastic. And I hope that you can publish in places where political scientists will see your work also, because I think that a lot of political scientists would be very excited about what you're finding. I wanted to express a slight note of caution about the slide on global nuclear expansion, because in the case of the states that haven't gotten any nuclear power yet, clearly building a nuclear plant represents a big expansion of nuclear power in the energy mix in their countries. But in many of the countries that already have nuclear power, the plans that they have to build new nuclear power plants are also to replace old nuclear power plants that are being decommissioned, like in Sweden or UK and so forth. And so I think that there's a big difference between a plan to have another plant to just tick things along at the rate that we had before versus a plan to actually expand nuclear power. And I would also mention that it might be useful, this is what I did in a little piece that I wrote, which is much less data heavy than yours, and so I would like to see your results, but to look at nuclear power as a percentage of overall power in the country, the growth, rather than simply absolute increase in nuclear power, just looking at it on its own.
Should I respond or wait for more?
Hi, my name's Leah. I'm a graduate fellow here. Thank you, Dr. Eaton, for your talk. It was wonderful as always. We've been really fortunate to hear a few of your presentations while we're here. I just wanted to talk about the first bullet point on this slide, which I think connects really well to what Francesca was saying. This presentation kind of treated governance as important in terms of safety and security, which I think is definitely like a big part of it, but there is also an aspect, as Francesca pointed out, that governance has an important role to play in institutional trust. And that was something that was also a big part of my research while I was here. is that governance is important not only so that states can have adequate safety and security, but without certain basic governance, there can be large public disputes over the trust required to develop a nuclear power program. That's all.
Yeah. Here.
Thank you for really an amazing stock taking of the data on this topic. Your graphs are very informative. So two very quick points. One is a warning against this sort of supply side view of potential threats. And I know there's a lot of stuff coming out on that, and there's somewhat of a danger in overstating the supply side. And I feel the literature, at least in political science, is absolutely overstating the supply side as opposed to the demand side on proliferation potential. But there's one slide where you have those that had some intentions and stopped. The green basically is the stopping point. And can you go back to that slide?
The green is basically the country who stopped because of domestic policy change.
Right, but actually on some countries, I think that's the one. For instance, Argentina and Brazil, you have, the green is actually driven by changing geopolitical landscape. Some of us might quarrel with some of those, like definitely Argentina and Brazil. They never had the kind of geopolitical driven considerations that people tend to impute on those two. I mean, this is not East Asia and it's not the Middle East. So I would just, I'm sure this is the kind of graph that political scientists would have much more input on. So just a word of caution on those two and maybe others, including. But let me stop there. Thank you.
Is there any other comment and question? Okay. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation.
I wasn't.
Big mistake. Okay, please.
I thought he was finished, so I get the message. I'll try to be quick. So, I think, Jack, your comment is an excellent point. Actually, the prospects, as sort of we put as a caveat, will not be realized, and I think even the country with greens will have difficulty in actually pursuing those things. But we're sort of painting a simplified picture, overstating the possibility, but also we have to be mindful about the reality. So I take it for sure. I think your comment is good one. And then the analysis we have done, as you pointed out, it is a very simple correlation analysis, and that work actually was done earlier. And I think with some of the data we've been collecting, we will have to revisit some of the analysis. So we try to actually take into account the point that you raised. So yes, please. We will maybe have a chance to share this and then get some feedback from the experts present here. I think I through so Leah's comment, basically that's sort of the point I wanted to dig in with the public perception or acceptance. But then, unfortunately, it doesn't show clarity and clear comparison or contrast between the two groups. So I didn't dwell on it, but yeah, it's a very important point. And then, yes, this is sort of controversial, how to interpret. And we kind of hesitated, but I think the point is bilateral efforts are very important in this. So in the future, if bilateral efforts are not serious about on this, then I think we may have a problem. So that's at least the message I'm
Thank you very much. Exactly, we are in time. Francesca and Howard, do you have anything to add before we close?
Well, the only thing I would add is, as always, it's a wonderful pleasure to be here, and I commend Mansung and KAIST on a truly spectacular program. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in those positions of influence and decision-making that we were speaking of earlier.
Yeah, the last comment I have is, I hope, guys, that all these discussions we had in the past 2 days really show how the field is changing. So for many years, nuclear non-proliferation studies was only about, international security, political scientists. I think we need to bring to the field new expertise and new subjects. I mean, subjects about regional issues, topics that somehow cross-cut with nuclear non-proliferation, but they might seem tangent, and yet they are really at the core of the discussion. Development, for example, becomes really important. So I hope you'll also try to diversify your education, not only focusing on nuclear non-proliferation, but taking on, for example, a country expertise or a regional issue, because really we need more complexity in thinking. And I think your point, Ethel, the supply and demand, these binary questions are question of the past. We need to think more in complex terms, and I think your generation will probably lead the way in doing this. So thank you for being with us for 2 days.
Thank you very much. The Francesca's paper shows us a very good theoretical approach with 5 lessons learned. It will be a very important research for nuclear non-proliferation. And also Dr. Lim's research could be a complementary for two people's quantitative activity approach. And Howard, he's a champion for nuclear non-proliferation security studies in the USA. Even he's expanding for world area for his effort. Thank you very much for your all participation and attention. Let's join me for applauding the speakers. Now we have just the last session.